So just to make it clear, in this course, we're going to be covering some specific cryptocurrency trading strategies that we've applied and used, which you can then go ahead and use. We're going to be doing that later in the course in terms of showing you the strategies, and we have a whole section devoted to it. But what I wanted to touch on in this lecture are some industry thought leaders that you can follow for price predictions. And on top of that, some tips on how to stay up to date on the latest industry news which could affect the value of your chosen cryptocurrency. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be covering the strategy details later in this course. We have a whole section devoted to it. But in this section, I just want to touch on some industry thought leaders that you should be following in this space, as well as ways on how to get the latest news in this ecosystem as quick as possible. I mean, let's face it, this ecosystem is so volatile. So by having these little added advantages deployed on top of the strategies that we're going to share, it just gives you that extra edge when it comes to trading. Let's first mention some notable people to follow in this ecosystem. They regularly, periodically, make predictions on the value of cryptocurrencies. As well as cryptocurrency predictions, they talk about the ecosystem as a whole, which will definitely help you. Now, of course, it's impossible to be correct 100% of the time with predictions, but historically, many of their predictions have been fairly accurate. So I'm going to mention a few people to follow. Of course, there are more out there, but these who I suggest that you follow to begin with. Now, I hope I pronounced these names correctly. I'm not the best when it comes to name pronunciations. So to begin with, we have Nick Szabo, Gavin Anderson, Andreas Antonopoulos, Roger Ver, Vitalik Buterin, Bobby Lee, Charles Lee, Barry Silbert, Vinny Lingham, Eric Voorhees, Stephen Pear, Aaron Vozine, Anthony Delroy, and Trace Mayer. Of course, those are just a handful of people. There are many more out there, but I'd say these are some of the most notable that you can follow right now. All of them have an online presence. You'll find them generally, and they'll generally be talking about the ecosystem as a whole, which can help you make your decision when it comes to investing in a specific cryptocurrency. Now, in terms of news and best places to find all the latest cryptocurrency gossip, it's pretty hard to keep up to date with all the latest, as there are just so many outlets. Of course, I share as much as I can do through the courses, discussion boards, my YouTube channels, Facebook, and so on. But there is also news out there which I just don't have time to simply put out through videos and so on. Now, I'm only one person, so I'm very restricted on time. And to be honest, I prefer educating and doing this sort of stuff rather than, let's say, journalism-focused stuff. But my work does overlap, and I acknowledge the value of both. But this is the reason why I'm about to recommend this method of gathering all the news in one central source, which you can then view and make what you want of it. So what I suggest you do is download the Feedly app. You can find it on the Apple App Store, and it also works for mobile, and it's also a desktop app. And I'm pretty sure, like I mentioned, it's available in other formats as well. But the main ones that it's available for is Apple, so the App Store, and Android. But as you can see, what this essentially does is act as a content creation service for you. It's free, by the way. But back to my point, it acts as that content curation service for you. So it brings in all the news stories within this ecosystem under one roof, let's say, allowing you to go through it all in one central place over visiting the hundreds of websites that are out there. I mean, our time is limited, so this is such a handy tool. So you can essentially do as I've done, create a section which is labelled cryptocurrency and blockchain, then start following all the sites that publish news about this field within the app. It will then bring that into the Feedly app as they publish news stories. It also keeps tabs on things such as Reddit conversations. That's a hive for some great information. The discussions on there can be very insightful, but also pretty brutal. But yeah, Feedly, I highly recommend that you take advantage of this tool to keep up to date on all the latest within this ecosystem. Like I mentioned earlier, having this extra information on top of the strategies that we're going to teach later in this course will put you a step further, so you'll have an advantage when it comes to trading cryptocurrencies over other people. But that's everything for this lecture, and in fact for this section. I hope you have fun in the next section. Rebecca will be taking over from me there. So have fun, I'm sure you'll gain a lot of value out of the next section, and I'll see you again in the third section of this course.